Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the electrifying world of Formula One. You might know it for the roaring engines, the thrilling races, but as we'll discover, there's just so much more to this global spectacle. Our mission today is really to pull out the most important bits of knowledge from our sources, giving you a real shortcut to being, well, properly informed about F1.
Yeah, and what's truly captivating about F1, I think, is how it's not just a sport. It's this crucible where technology, global logistics, even, social impact all intertwine. We're going to explore how this sport constantly pushes boundaries and adapts. You'll see how everything from its historical circuits to its modern sustainability efforts contributes to its incredibly complex identity.
So let's maybe start by looking back a bit. F1 has actually raced on an astonishing 77 circuits.
7-7.
Yeah, across 34 countries, every continent except Antarctica. Just think about that global reach.
It's immense.
And when we look at the classic venues, Silverstone immediately springs to mind, right? Started as an airfield back in 43.
Right, during the war.
Exactly. And after the war, it quickly turned to racing, hosted the first ever official F1 World Championship race in 1950, and the British Grand Prix pretty much ever since.
A real cornerstone.
And then there's Monza, Italy, the Temple of Speed.
Ah, Monza.
Its first race was way back in 1922, and it's hosted the Italian Grand Prix every single year since 1950, apart from 1980.
Still the fastest circuit, too, in modern F1. It just demands such minimal downforce from the cars.
Which is fascinating because it forces teams to strip back all those complex aero elements, doesn't it?
Totally. It's all about raw power, straight line speed. And that's why the races there can be incredibly short, like the 2023 Italian Grand Prix, done in just 73 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And these circuits, they're just asphalt and curbs. They're living history, really. Each one has a unique personality that pushed drivers and engineers to their absolute limits.
Like Monaco.
Exactly, Monica. It's this narrow street circuit. Nelson Piquet famously said it was like riding a bicycle around your living room. Qualifying there is just absolutely paramount. Overtaking is so incredibly difficult. It's a pure test of precision, really.
And then the Nürburgring, the Green Hell.
Oh, the Green Hell, nicknamed by Jackie Stewart.
Yep.
Nestled in Germany's Eifel Mountains, just incredibly challenging, famously dangerous back in the day. And it's precisely these kinds of extreme tracks that forced the cars themselves to evolve so dramatically over the years. So maybe the question is, how did these F1 machines transform?
Yeah, it's a great question because the innovation, it's just relentless, isn't it? One of the first really big breakthroughs was back in 1962, the Lotus 25.
Ah, Colin Chapman.
Introduced the monocoque chassis.
Right.
Revolutionary design inspired by aircraft construction.
Right, much stiffer, lighter.
Exactly. It wasn't just lighter and stiffer, it fundamentally changed how F1 cars were built, created a much safer survival cell for the driver, and gave engineers way more flexibility in designing the car's bodywork for aerodynamics.
And that really paved the way for the next big thing, didn't it? The aero revolution. By the 70s and 80s, engineers fully realized that downforce, that invisible force pushing the car down for better grip, was just as critical as engine power. This shifted the design focus completely. You started seeing these increasingly complex wings and shapes.
And then the 80s, the turbo era. That gets really interesting.
Oh, the turbo era,
Yeah.
yeah. Turbocharged engines pushed power to just, unimaginable levels. Some were hitting up to 1,400 horsepower in qualifying trim.
1,400.
Figures that are still unmatched today.
That sounds almost uncontrollable. Were there specific challenges for the drivers with that much power, or did it lead to more accidents?
Oh, it certainly presented a massive challenge.
Yeah.
Huge. Drivers had to manage this incredible power delivery, the turbo lag. It made them some of the most demanding cars ever to drive. And that era also brought in semi-automatic gearboxes. Ferrari pioneered them, I think. Allowed seamless shifts without lifting off the throttle. A huge leap for efficiency and speed.
So, given all that incredible history, that evolution, what does it mean for the modern F1 car and maybe its future?
Well, the 2000s and 2010s, they saw this intense focus on fine-tuning every single millimeter of the car's bodywork. Just extreme aerodynamic refinement. Then, the big shift in 2022 with the regulations bringing back ground effect principles.
Right. Shaping the car's floor to create suction.
Exactly. Shaping the underside to create this powerful vacuum, basically sucking the car to the track for immense grip. The whole aim was to allow closer raising, more overtaking, by reducing the dirty air cars leave behind.
And we definitely saw that play out, didn't we? The Red Bull RB19 from 2023, that was a prime example of a car really nailing that new aerodynamic efficiency.
A masterclass.
But then you had the Mercedes W13, highlighting the struggles some teams face adapting. Remember the porpoising?
Oh, yeah, that silent bounce.
Caused by the car repeatedly losing and regaining its ground effect. It was quite a spectacle and a real headache for the engineers, I bet.
It truly was. And looking at the engines themselves, they've had this remarkable journey from the, 3.0-liter atmospheric engines of the 60s.
Meaning they just breathed air naturally, no turbos or anything back then?
Right. To the incredibly complex, powerful hybrids we have today, introduced in 2014. These modern power units are unbelievably efficient. And looking ahead from 2026, F1 cars will be powered by 100% advanced sustainable fuels. That's a key part of the sport's net zero by 2030 commitment. It's a huge step, really.
Okay, let's shift gears then. Let's unpack the thrill of a Grand Prix weekend itself for you. It's this absolute festival of excitement, of entertainment, usually over 3 or 4 days, all building up to the race. So the weekend kicks off with free practice sessions, gives teams, drivers a crucial chance to learn the track, test car setups, get a feel for things.
Get dialed in.
Exactly. Then comes qualifying, usually a 3-session knockout Q1, Q2, Q3. Drivers set their fastest laps to determine their starting grid position. Fastest driver gets pole position, of course. And there's also the 107% rule in Q1, which is actually quite important.
It keeps things competitive.
Right. It ensures cars are quick enough to race safely. If your best lap is more than 107% of the fastest Q1 time, you generally aren't allowed to start, though stewards can make exceptions.
And just to mix things up, a few times a season, F1 throws in a sprint race weekend.
Ah, the sprints?
Yeah, and this isn't just a shorter race on Saturday. It completely messes with the traditional schedule. Instead of loads of practice, you get just one session.
One practice session.
Then straight into sprint qualifying, which sets the grid for that shorter, usually quite action-packed F1 sprint race on Saturday. It adds this whole other layer of strategy and points.
That reduction in practice time, especially on sprint weekends, must put just immense pressure on the teams, right? To get their setups nailed almost immediately. How does that affect their strategy?
Precisely. It demands much more immediate precision in setup, in planning. It makes the whole weekend feel like more of a gamble, you could say. Then on race day, main event, the Grand Prix, it begins with the formation lap. Drivers warm up tires, brakes, check systems, check track conditions one last time before lining up on the grid.
And the race itself, usually around 305 kilometers.
Typically, yeah. 305 kilometers or a maximum of 2 hours, whichever comes first. First car across the line takes the checkered flag, obviously. Championship points go to the top 10 finishers, plus that extra point for fastest lap, but only if the driver finishes in the top 10.
Now, during the race, pit stops are key. Drivers have to come in to change tires. Teams use all sorts of different strategies, juggling those 3 dry tire compounds, soft, medium, hard.
Each with different durability, different grip levels.
And drivers must use at least 2 different dry compounds during a race, unless, it rains and they use wet tires. That decision is a massive strategic element, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely critical, especially since they banned mid-race refueling after 2009.
Right, that changed everything.
That ban made tire management and pit stop timing even more important to strategy. Every single second in the pit lane counts. The right tire call at the right time. That can win or lose you the race. Simple as that.
And speaking of managing the race, what about safety? Those colorful flags you see marshals waving, it's like a whole language.
It is, yeah. A single yellow flag means slow down, hazard ahead, no overtaking. That rule alone can totally reshuffle a race if someone gets caught out.
Double yellows.
Double yellow means slow down significantly, be prepared to stop. Could be a blockage, could be marshals on the track. If you see a yellow flag with red stripes, that means reduced grip ahead oil or water, usually.
And the red flag.
Red flag stops the session immediately. Unsafe conditions, drivers have to slow right down, return to the pit lane, no overtaking allowed.
Blue flag, that's for lapped cars, right?
Yeah, waved at a driver means a faster car is coming up behind you, you need to let it pass quickly. And then, of course, the checkered flag signals the end. End of the session, end of the race.
And beyond the flags, we also see the safety car and the virtual safety car deployed sometimes.
Right. The physical safety car comes out for incidents too serious for just flags. It bunches the whole field up behind it at a reduced speed.
Which always creates this strategic scramble, doesn't it? Teams deciding whether to pit under the safety car or stay out.
Exactly. It's a real chess match moment. And then there's the virtual safety car, the VSC. That limits all drivers to a set slower speed across the entire track. But importantly, it preserves the gaps between the cars.
How does that work, preserving the gaps?
Well, unlike a full safety car under VSC, drivers have to maintain a positive delta time on their dashboards. means they have to stay above a specific slower reference lap time for each sector of the track.
Okay.
This ensures everyone slows down proportionally without the field bunching up and without anyone gaining an unfair advantage by slowing down less than others.
It's actually incredible how these rules, these procedures are constantly being tweaked and refined.
Yeah,
It really reflects this continuous effort to, well, manage the immense risks of such a high-speed sport while still keeping the thrill of the racing alive.
definitely a balancing act.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit now. Let's talk about F1's impact beyond the track itself, because it's huge. And you really have to talk about Bernie Ecclestone here. For over 40 years, he basically was Mr. Formula One, wasn't he?
He absolutely was. Transformed it from, relatively niche sport into this multi-billion-dollar global television spectacle. His commercial management completely reshaped the sport's financial landscape. He persuaded the teams to, as he put it, hunt as a pack for better commercial deals. Offering F1 as a complete package to circuits, to broadcasters, it's a masterclass in business transformation, really.
And following his era, one of the biggest shifts we've seen is the introduction of the cost cap.
Yeah, a massive change, aiming to level the playing field, reward smart engineering over just, sheer spending power.
It started at what, $175 million in 2021?
Yeah, then reduced to $145 million, then $140 million in 2022, and now $135 million for 2023 through 2025.
And this wasn't just about saving money, was it? It felt like a philosophical shift for F1.
It really was.
Yeah.
It forced teams to be incredibly disciplined, incredibly ingenious with their resources. It started to show that brilliant engineering, not just the deepest pockets, could lead to success on track.
That McLaren example in 2023 really brought that home, didn't it? Their massive mid-season improvement, all under these tight budget constraints, showed that real innovation can still thrive.
Absolutely.
But I am curious, were there any big downsides or controversies around the cost cap? Did some teams maybe argue it stifled innovation or made the sport less attractive for new manufacturers?
Oh, it definitely sparked debate. There were arguments for sure. Some felt it could restrict the very cutting-edge innovation F1 is famous for. Others worried about policing it effectively. But the overall consensus, certainly from the governing body and many teams, is that it fosters a more competitive and, importantly, a more sustainable sport in the long run.
And speaking of sustainable,
Right. What truly stands out about F1 now, I think, is how seriously the sport is taking its environmental and social responsibilities. F1 published its first sustainability strategy back in 2019. The big headline goal is net zero by 2030.
net zero by 2030, that's ambitious.
It is, based on a 50% absolute emissions cut from their 2018 baseline. That includes everything: factories, travel, logistics, energy used at the races themselves. And they've already made real progress. They reported reducing their carbon footprint by 13% against that 2018 baseline back in 2022. So it's moving.
That is a significant commitment, especially for a sport that relies so heavily on, well, flying everything around the globe constantly. How are they actually achieving these goals in practice? What are the specifics?
It's a multi-pronged approach, really. Logistics is a huge one. The 2024 calendar, for example, was specifically reorganized to reduce freight distance, create a better flow of races within regions, less back-and-forth flying. And DHL, their logistics partner, introduced a new truck fleet just for the European races, powered by 100% biofuel HVO100 specifically. That alone reduced related carbon emissions by an average of 83%. Huge saving.
Okay, that's significant on the transport side. What about at the actual events?
At the events themselves, yeah. Over 75% of the race promoters powered aspects of their events using renewable energy sources in 2023. That's up quite a bit from 50% the year before.
That's good progress. And what about things like, I don't know, the fan experience areas or infrastructure?
Even the hospitality areas like the Paddock Club have made changes. They brought in these new reusable textile-based walling systems. Sounds minor, but it reduced weight and volume for transport by up to 80%. They also replaced single-use cut flowers with locally sourced reusable succulents and trees in those areas. Little things add up.
And technology.
Yeah. A big one is Formula One's Media and Technology Center back in the UK. It's now the world's largest intercontinental remote production operation. It enables a huge amount of the broadcasting to be done remotely, significantly cutting down on the number of personnel and the amount of equipment that needs to travel to each race. Plus, in 2023, F1 launched this Green Champions program. They have on-site staff doing audits at each race, giving feedback to promoters to help them build their sustainability action plan, so it's quite holistic.
That's really quite comprehensive. So, shifting slightly,
Hmm.
what does all this mean for diversity and inclusion within the sport? Because let's be honest, historically, F1 hasn't exactly been known for its diversity.
No, that's a very fair point. And it's something F1 is actively working on now, trying to remove those traditional barriers to entry. A really prominent example is the F1 Academy. It's an all-female racing series they launched in 2023. The explicit goal is to increase opportunities for women in motorsport. And importantly, its first champion, Marta Garcia, she received a fully funded seat for the next step up in 2024. So it's demonstrating a potential pathway.
That's great. And it's not just about finding female drivers, is it? It's broader than that.
Exactly. It's beyond just the driving. Since 2021, they've had the Engineering Scholarship Program. It supports 10 students each year from underrepresented backgrounds, helping to bring diverse new talent into the crucial technical side of the sport.
Hmm.
The engineers, the
And it's
designers.
vital, too.
Absolutely. And they're even increasing access for fans in unique ways. There's this Awabot program. Young patients in hospitals can actually control these telepresence robots remotely.
Wow.
Yeah, allows them to visit the paddock, meet F1 drivers virtually, experience the atmosphere. They reached over 150 children across 8 Grand Prix in 2023 with that really special initiative.
That is amazing.
And we are starting to see more diversity within the paddock itself now, too. More women taking on really key high-profile roles, like Hannah Schmitz, principal strategy engineer at Red Bull Racing. Absolutely crucial role there. And Laura Muller, she's said to be the first full-time female race engineer at the Haas team in 2025. So, yeah, it feels like a positive shift across the board, even if there's still a way to go.
So we've really covered a lot of ground here. We've taken a deep dive into Formula One, from the sheer adrenaline of the race weekend and that cutting-edge car technology, all the way through to its really significant strides in sustainability and social responsibility. It's clearly a sport that's become so much more than just, cars going fast around a track.
Yeah, stepping back, the broader takeaway here is F1's deep commitment to innovation, to constantly pushing boundaries, whether that's in engine tech, aerodynamics, or now environmental practices. And often those advancements have ripple effects far beyond the sport itself, which highlights this fundamental aspect of F1. Its relentless pursuit of peak performance in everything it does. So maybe as you reflect on everything we've discussed, here's a thought to leave you with. How might Formula One, with this constant drive for efficiency and finding groundbreaking solutions, serve as a unique kind of model for other industries? Not just in sport, but maybe more broadly, in driving both technological advancement and sustainable practices together.